with an oxymoronic degree in criminal justice, and then somehow inexplicably forgot to go to law school. Just forgot. Okay. Ms. Parnell has at various times in her working life served hamburgers at Disneyland. I would like to know more about that, actually. Filed agricultural periodicals for a university library, edited classified advertising for CPAs, installed computer systems in radio stations, assisted in a private OB/GYN medical practice and in women's health care clinics. Anything, apparently, to avoid the call to write fiction. The call, however, would not be denied. Parnell retired from her career as a reproductive health educator to write. Parnell is a member of the Authors Guild and the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. She has published short stories, a book of short fiction, a children's picture book, essays, poems, and theatrical play. Yet somehow she neglected to pen even one tale about irresistibly seductive but celibate, immortal bloodsuckers and their underage inomortrus. Did I say that right? In other words, you didn't write a story about vampires.
I forgot.
Good for you. Good for you. Her vampire-free works have appeared in over 80 books, magazines, and journals, several of which have not filed for Chapter 11 protection. You're funny. Okay. Here we go, Robyn. Come on up.
The microphone, okay. Can you hear?
Yes.
That's too bad. Get really close to it. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm going to be reading a couple of brief selections from my latest book, a middle grade novel called MIGHTY QUINN. Some of the ideas for the story came in part from my volunteering in Hillsboro schools over the years. And first I'll give you a brief overview of the book. Quinn Andrews Lee feels anything but mighty and faces a dismal school year. His younger sister outshines him athletically and socially, and he yearns for a service award his peers disdain. And then there is charismatic bigot Matt Barker, whose goal in life is to torment Quinn and lure his friends to the dark side. Neely Stanwell, a free-spirited new student in class, becomes a catalyst and a friend. Through events both comical and emotional, Quinn and Neely solve the right mystery just as everything seems to go wrong, and thwart a bully without becoming one in turn, and debate whether the fabled ability to belch the entire alphabet might trump any award ever presented at Turner Creek School. The first passage introduces Neely to Quinn's class, and the second takes place on the last day of school before winter break. Oh, I'm warning, I have props. Don't make me use this one. Ms. Blakeman raised her fraud clicker. Fifth graders, listen up! 6 minutes until lunch. Quinn felt a paper wad hit the back of his shirt, and he heard Matt and Josh snickering. It was simply and profoundly unfair. Every September at the first assembly, the principal gave the same boring speech about how everyone was working to make Turner Creek the best school in Oregon. And every June at the last assembly, the principal gave another boring speech about how the teachers would pick the best combination of students for next year's classes. And every year since kindergarten, Quinn had ended up in a class with Matt Barker. Quinn was so intent on pondering his bad luck, he missed the distinctive squeak of the classroom door. Tina Freeman, whose desk was in front of Quinn's, turned around and whispered, "I'm glad it's not me." She pointed to the front of the class where the teacher was speaking with a man, a woman, and a girl. hard enough being a new kid in September. But 2 days before winter break, right before lunch, we're getting a new student, Quinn asked. Duh. Oh no, Tina groaned. Her parents kissed her goodbye in front of everyone. Fifth graders, listen up. Please give your best Turner Creek welcome to our new classmate. Nellie Standwell comes to us from Spokane, Washington. It's Neely, not Nellie, the new girl interrupted. Oh, excuse me, Neely? That's okay. The girl looked around the room, right to left, front to back, as if she were memorizing every face in the class. Most people get it wrong at first. Neely, it rhymes with really. My name is Neely Ray Standwell, and it's nice to meet all of you. Matt covered his mouth with his hands. It's nice to meet y'all, he whined. Josh let fly the snorting noises he made when he was supposedly laughing, but which Quinn had always thought sounded like pigs choking on their slop. Fifth graders? Miss Blakeman glared in the direction of the laughter. We'll finish the intros after lunch. You know the drill. Let's help Neely figure it out. Hot lunchers in front of the line, cold lunchers in the back. And Neely Ray Standwell. It had to be the coolest name ever. Quinn got in line, so lost in thought he didn't see that the coolest name ever was right behind him. Hotters, colders, are these some kind of tag team names? Quinn turned to answer the new girl and felt his cheeks flush. He spun back around and faced the door. Hello there, Neely said to Quinn's back. Hi, Quinn said to his shoes. The line moved toward the cafeteria. So what's this deal about the lunch line march? Hot lunchers get lunch at the cafeteria. Cold lunchers bring their lunch from home. We all go to the cafeteria together, come back and eat at our desks, then it's recess. You have to eat lunch in the classroom? At our desk, Quinn began to explain. But sometimes, Quinn turned to face Neely. His throat began to feel ripply, like the time he had laryngitis and missed 2 days of school. He wasn't used to anyone looking at him so intently. Neely stared at Quinn as if he were about to say something incredible, but Quinn couldn't tell if she expected something incredibly interesting or incredibly stupid. This is from chapter 6. Quinn pays attention.
Can you hold the mic closer?
Okay. Quinn's class was the first class to be let out for vacation, and he was the first student out the door, the first student to discover that while the diligent scholars of Turner Creek Elementary were cleaning out their desks, the first snow in 3 years had fallen in Hillsboro, Oregon. Barely a half-inch of snow dusted the grounds and the azaleas by the main building, but it was glistening and white. It was snow. Students gleefully kicked at the light powder beneath their feet, while Ms. Barnes, the playground supervisor, stood ramrod straight by the curb where the buses lined up. A cold, wet blob hit the top of Quinn's jacket and slid down his neck. Hey! He gasped. Tina crouched behind Quinn, trying to look like she had not thrown the snowball. Quinn cupped his hands to collect clumps of white mush. It wasn't much, but it would have to do.
We're wet now.
The next one who throws a snowball goes to the principal's office. You! Ms. Barnes aimed her whistle at Neely, who was gathering a pile of snow. Drop it, now. Oh, for Santa's sake, let the kids play in the snow. Quinn looked to see who dared talk back to the whistle. The voice belonged to a man who stood at the curb behind Ms. Barnes. It was the man who'd come to class with Neely. Ms. Barnes looked like she'd swallowed her whistle. Her cheeks and nose were red, as if she'd been sunburned. There could be rocks in the snowballs. Rocks, Neely's father repeated. If kids scoop up snow from the ground, they might also scoop up rocks or other sharp objects. What if there was broken glass underneath or razor blades? A kid would get hit in the eye with it, that's what. The man's eyes sparkled, as if he'd just heard the funniest joke in infinity. Neely ran to her father. I know, I know, no running in the snow, she said as she passed Miss Barnes. Come on. Neely's father took her hand in his. Let's go make some Rocky Razor snowballs. Although Quinn's back was wet, he didn't feel cold. He watched Neely with her father, and for the first time in a long time, Quinn felt that something else could happen if he paid attention. Maybe, just maybe, life could actually change. Even if you'd have to wait a whole 2 weeks to find out. Thank you, and would you like me to roll this now? Thank you. Have fun with the next readers, and I hope to be able to meet you and talk with you afterwards. Brad, you want?
Thanks for the introduction.
This is